Beneath the arid winds of South Asia's deserts, beneath layers of forgotten soil, lies a civilization once thought lost to time. For millennia, its story was silenced. Its people unnamed, its achievements buried. But in the early 20th century, as archaeologists dug into the earth, whispers from the past rose once more. The whispers of the Indus Valley Civilization. What they found defied all expectation. Streets laid in perfect symmetry, homes fitted with private wells and baths, drainage systems engineered with precision unseen in the ancient world. These were not scattered villages. They were cities, planned, organized, and thriving nearly 5,000 years ago. Yet their rulers remain faceless. Their language lies undeciphered. Their temples, their king, their wars, if they had them, remain cloaked in silence. The Indus Valley people left behind no epic tales, no pyramids, no stone-carved monuments to boast of their power. Only the haunting stillness of their abandoned cities. And so, a mystery was born. Who were these people? How did they build such wonders? And why did their world vanish? To answer these questions, we must journey back to the rivers where destiny itself was carved. The story of the Indus Valley begins, as so many great stories do, with a river. From the icy heights of the Himalayas, the Indus flows southward, cutting across plains and deserts, carrying with it life, soil, and renewal. Around it stretched fertile lands that drew early farmers as early as 7,000 BCE. Here they planted wheat and barley. Here they tamed cattle and buffalo. Here humankind laid the foundations for something far greater than survival. By 3300 BCE, scattered villages dotted the Indus and its tributaries, the Ravi, the Sutlej, the Beas, the Chenab. These were the roots of an emerging civilization. Mud brick houses rose from the earth. Pottery spun on wheels. Trade began to flourish. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the villages grew into towns, and the towns into cities. Around 2600 BCE, the Indus Valley entered its golden age. A vast cultural web stretched across more than 1 million square kilometers, from the Baluchi highlands in the west to Gujarat in the south, to the foothills of the Himalayas in the north. Larger than ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia combined, this was no small regional culture. It was one of the great cradles of civilization. But unlike the pharaohs of Egypt or the kings of Mesopotamia, the rulers of the Indus remain invisible. No grand palaces have been unearthed. No monuments of conquest. Their power, if it existed, was not carved in stone but woven into the fabric of daily life. Their genius was not in spectacle but in order, an unseen authority that kept cities aligned, systems functioning, and people thriving. This absence raises haunting questions. Was the Indus Valley ruled by priests, by councils? Or was it a civilization so unique that it thrived without kings or conquerors at all? Whatever the answer, one truth is clear. The rivers gave them life, and from that life emerged cities unlike any the ancient world had ever seen. Cities that would one day vanish into dust, leaving only their silent ruins behind. Imagine walking into a city nearly 5,000 years ago, its streets broad and orderly, aligned in perfect grids. On either side rise rows of houses, each crafted with baked bricks of identical size, as if poured from the same mold. Wells dot the courtyards, offering fresh water, and beneath your feet, hidden from sight, a labyrinth of drains carries waste away. This is not the vision of Rome, nor Athens, nor Babylon. This is the world of the Indus Valley. Two names echo most loudly from this lost civilization: Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. Mohenjo-daro, the mound of the dead, stands as the crown jewel of the Indus. At its height, it may have held more than 40,000 inhabitants, a metropolis of the ancient world. Its streets run north to south, east to west, like the coordinates of a map. In its heart stands the Great Bath, a massive brick-lined pool, waterproofed with bitumen. Scholars believe it may have been used for ritual purification, hinting at a culture that placed water at the center of its spiritual life. Harappa, further to the north, gave its name to the entire civilization. Here too we find precision and order, fortified walls, granaries large enough to feed a city, and workshops alive with craft. Harappan artisans shaped beads of carnelian, etched seals with strange symbols, and fashioned tools of copper and bronze. Yet these were not isolated wonders. Dozens of cities, Lothal, Kalibangan, Dholavira, emerged across the Indus realm. Lothal, near the coast, reveals what may have been one of the world's first dockyards, connecting the Indus to distant lands by sea. Dholavira in Gujarat shows a mastery of water management, with massive reservoirs and channels carved into stone to harvest every drop in a dry landscape. What is most remarkable is the uniformity. Across hundreds of miles, the cities share the same brick dimensions, the same street planning, the same standardized weights and measures. It is as if an invisible hand guided them all, ensuring that whether you stood in Mohenjo-daro or Harappa, you were within the same world. And yet, behind this order lies silence. We see no palaces towering above the common folk, no colossal statues of kings, no carved records of battles fought or victories won. This was a civilization that left behind the skeleton of its brilliance, but not the face of its rulers. Archaeologists wander its streets in awe, but also in confusion. Who designed these cities? Who decided the measurements of every brick? Who ensured such harmony across such vast distances? The cities of the Indus are both a revelation and a riddle, proof of genius, yet void of explanation. And as we wander deeper into their streets, we must ask, what of the people themselves? How did they live, work, and dream within these walls of perfect order? Step into the bustling lanes of Mohenjo-daro or Harappa, and you will not find chaos. Instead, you'll discover order, an urban rhythm that seems centuries ahead of its time. Here, every street has its place, every brick its measure, every household its share of comfort. The homes of the Indus people tell us much about their daily lives. Built from standardized baked bricks, many had multiple rooms, courtyards, and staircases that suggest upper floors. Some were modest, single-room dwellings, others larger and more elaborate. But across the board, there was a striking element of equality. Unlike Egypt's palaces or Mesopotamia's ziggurats, no house here screams of royalty or absolute power. Instead, society seems to have been balanced, organized, perhaps even egalitarian. Inside, artifacts whisper of routine and refinement. Pottery painted with geometric patterns. Terracotta figurines, some depicting animals, others perhaps goddesses. Spinning wheels, beads, and toys, yes, even children's toys, remind us that these people were not just builders, but mothers, fathers, and children with joys and play. Water was central to their way of life. Private wells, public baths, and a citywide drainage system reveal an obsession with cleanliness unmatched in the ancient world. Imagine, while citizens of later Rome would marvel at aqueducts, the Indus had already mastered water engineering 2 millennia earlier. Their economy thrived on both agriculture and trade. Farmers cultivated wheat, barley, and cotton, some of the earliest known use of cotton in the world. Herds of cattle, buffalo, and goats grazed in the fields. In workshops, artisans crafted beads from carnelian, faience, and lapis lazuli, items so exquisite they were traded as far as Mesopotamia. Standardized weights and measures, carved from stone, ensured fairness in markets and consistency across cities. But how was this society governed? The silence of the Indus script leaves us guessing. No grand monuments to kings, no towering palaces. Perhaps leadership was collective, a council of elders, merchants, or priests. Or perhaps it was an early form of democracy, where order was achieved without tyranny. What is certain is that the scale of organization required to maintain such cities was immense. Someone or some system held it together. And then there are the people themselves. Skeletal remains suggest they were healthy, with little evidence of warfare or mass violence. Tools of war are rare, unlike in Mesopotamia where bronze weapons abound. Instead, what dominates the archaeological record are tools of peace: weights, beads, plows, pottery. This hints at a society less focused on conquest, more on community. The Indus Valley may have been a world where daily life was marked not by kings or wars, but by family, work, ritual, and the steady flow of rivers. a world where ordinary people lived extraordinary lives. Yet if these people were so advanced, why do their words remain beyond our reach? For on countless seals and tablets, they carved symbols, mysterious silent words of stone that no one alive today can yet read. Mysteries of the script, silent words of stone. Among the ruins of the Indus Valley, thousands of small seals have been unearthed. They are square, carved from steatite, polished smooth, and inscribed with strange symbols. Often they depict animals, bulls, elephants, rhinoceroses, and the enigmatic unicorn. Above them, short sequences of characters, lines, loops, triangles, mysterious marks. This is the Indus script, one of history's greatest unsolved puzzles. Unlike Egyptian hieroglyphs or Sumerian cuneiform, the Indus script has defied every attempt at decipherment. Over 400 distinct symbols have been identified, but the longest inscription is only 26 characters. No bilingual Rosetta Stone exists to guide us. The result? We stand before a silent language, a voice locked away for 4,000 years. Scholars debate what these symbols mean. Were they a full writing system capturing speech and grammar? Or were they proto-writing, mnemonic symbols to record trade, ritual, or ownership? Some argue they represent names, others that they mark commodities or clans. The truth remains elusive. What we do know is that the script was everywhere, on seals, pottery, tools, even copper tablets. Its presence across the civilization suggests it was vital, perhaps for administration, perhaps for religion, perhaps for both. Attempts at decipherment continue. Some scholars propose links to early Dravidian languages, others to Sanskrit's ancient roots. Computers and artificial intelligence are now being used to find patterns that human eyes might miss. Yet still, the seals remain stubbornly silent. And so, the people of the Indus speak to us only in fragments. We see their cities, their tools, their art. But their thoughts, their stories, their songs, these are lost in the cryptic symbols they carved and left behind. Perhaps, hidden in the dust of some yet undiscovered site, lies the key to unlocking their voice. Until then, the Indus script remains one of history's most haunting silences. In a civilization without kings or temples, where do we look for the divine? The Indus people left behind no towering pyramids, no ziggurats dedicated to gods of sky or sun. Yet scattered among their ruins, clues to their spiritual life endure. Foremost among these is the Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro, a vast brick-lined pool carefully waterproofed, with steps descending on either side. This was no ordinary bath. Many scholars believe it served as a place of ritual cleansing, a sacred space where purity and water intertwined. Seals, too, provide tantalizing hints. One depicts a figure seated cross-legged, horned, surrounded by animals, interpreted by some as an early prototype of Shiva, the Hindu god of destruction and rebirth. Others argue it may represent a shaman or a fertility deity. Whatever its meaning, it reveals a connection between humanity, nature, and the divine. Terracotta figurines, often of women with elaborate jewelry and headdresses, suggest goddess worship, perhaps linked to fertility, harvest, and the cycles of life. Animal motifs, bulls, elephants, the mysterious unicorn, may have carried sacred symbolism. There are no signs of vast temples or priestly monopolies, but religion seems woven into daily life, subtle and pervasive. The sacred was not confined to monumental stone, but lived in water, earth, and symbol. And yet, just as their script keeps their words silent, their religion remains a shadow, half-glimpsed, never fully revealed. But one thing is clear. Through their faith, as through their cities, the people of the Indus left echoes that may have shaped the spiritual traditions of South Asia for millennia to come. The Indus Valley was not an isolated world. Its people reached far beyond their rivers, weaving themselves into the fabric of a global Bronze Age economy. In the workshops of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, artisans carved beads from carnelian and lapis lazuli, shaped pottery with geometric precision, and stamped seals with symbols of ownership. These were not trinkets for local use alone. They traveled. Archaeologists have uncovered Indus seals in Mesopotamian cities like Ur and Kish. In return, Mesopotamian texts speak of a distant land called Meluha, a place rich in ivory, cotton, and exotic woods, believed by many to be the Indus. Along the Arabian Sea, the port city of Lothal reveals how far this civilization's ambition stretched. Its dockyard, one of the earliest known, suggests ships sailed from the Indus to the Persian Gulf, carrying goods, ideas, and culture across waves. Copper from Oman, silver from Afghanistan, turquoise from Iran, these flowed into the Indus, making it a hub of exchange. This vast network was held together by remarkable consistency. Weights and measures standardized across cities ensured fairness in trade. Whether a merchant bought grain in Harappa or beads in Lothal, the system was the same. The Indus Valley was not a walled-off kingdom, but a civilization without borders, connected to worlds far away. But just as rivers give life, they can also take it away. And in the centuries to come, shadows began to gather over these thriving cities. Around 1900 BCE, something shifted. Slowly at first, then more rapidly, the great cities of the Indus began to fall silent. Streets once alive with traders grew empty. Granaries were abandoned, wells dried. Within a few centuries, Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, once jewels of human ingenuity, were little more than mounds of dust. Why did this happen? Historians and archaeologists have searched for answers, but the truth remains elusive. One theory points to climate change. Geological evidence suggests that the mighty Saraswati River, once a lifeline of the Indus, began to dry as monsoons weakened. Without water, fields failed, and famine crept in. The rivers that had given life now betrayed them. Others argue for flooding. Mohenjo-daro shows signs of repeated inundations. Perhaps the Indus itself shifted course, devastating the cities with alternating drought and deluge. A more controversial theory suggests invasion. Ancient texts from the Vedic period speak of migrations of Indo-Aryan peoples. Some scholars believe waves of newcomers may have clashed with the Indus inhabitants, leading to decline. Yet evidence of large-scale warfare is scarce. Another possibility lies in disease. Crowded cities and advanced water systems could have spread epidemic illness. Skeletons unearthed in Mohenjo-daro show signs of trauma, but not enough to prove mass violence. Perhaps instead, mass sickness. Perhaps the answer is not one cause, but many. Climate shifts weakened agriculture. Trade routes faltered, populations dispersed. The great cities, once united in rhythm, began to unravel. By 1500 BCE, the Indus Valley Civilization had dissolved into smaller communities, leaving no clear heirs to its once mighty network. Yet the silence is unnerving. How could such brilliance vanish so completely? Why no kings remembered, no chronicles preserved, no myths of grandeur carried into later ages? The fall of the Indus Valley remains one of history's darkest enigmas, a civilization that seemed to slip away like water through open hands. Archaeological evidence. Digging through the silence. What we know of the Indus Valley is not from scrolls or chronicles, but from the soil itself. Archaeology is our only witness, and its testimony is both rich and frustratingly incomplete. In 1921 at Harappa, and a year later at Mohenjo-daro, excavations revealed something astonishing. Vast cities buried beneath layers of earth. Streets in grids, brick houses, seals covered in strange symbols. A lost world rising into view. Since then, each spadeful of dirt has added to the picture. Terracotta figurines show us glimpses of gods, mothers, and animals. Beads of carnelian and lapis trace their trade. Toys carved for children remind us of simple joys. The Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro suggests ritual and community. Standardized weights and measures reveal a system of control and trust, and yet the record is incomplete. Floods, shifting rivers, and 4 millennia of time have erased much. Wooden structures have rotted. Texts, if they existed, have crumbled. What remains are fragments. A necklace here, a seal there, a skeleton in the street. Still, from these fragments, we piece together the story of a civilization whose sophistication rivals any in antiquity. But for every answer the earth gives, It raises new questions, and the greatest mysteries of the Indus are those that remain unsolved. For all that we know about the Indus Valley, far more remains cloaked in shadow. Their script still mocks us with silence. Were those symbols words, prayers, names of kings, or something else entirely? Until we unlock them, the voice of this civilization will remain unheard. We do not know the faces of their rulers. Were they priests, councils, or did the Indus create something truly unique, a society without kings, built on collective order? Their religion, too, is elusive. Did they worship a mother goddess, a proto-Shiva, or countless spirits tied to water and earth? Was the Great Bath a temple or a civic pool? We cannot say for certain. Even their decline raises more questions than answers. Did climate change drive them away? Did invaders crush them? Or did they simply dissolve, their people blending quietly into new cultures that rose after them? These questions linger, haunting every excavation, every artifact unearthed. The Indus Valley is a civilization that left behind everything except the one thing we most crave: its story in its own words. And so the Indus remains both revealed and concealed, a riddle etched into history's bones. Though the great cities fell, their echoes live on. The Indus Valley did not vanish without leaving its mark. Instead, its influence seeped into the soil of South Asia, shaping cultures for millennia to come. Consider their mastery of water. The fascination with rivers, tanks, and ritual bathing seems to flow directly into later Indian traditions. The sacred role of the Ganges, the ritual of purification in water, perhaps these trace their origins to the Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro. Their emphasis on order, on standardized measures, and on civic life echoes in the systems of later Indian kingdoms, where trade, weights, and planning continued to be refined. Even their urban grids may have inspired later city planning across the subcontinent. Religious continuity is tantalizing. The horned, seated figure on the seals resembles later depictions of Shiva in yogic meditation. The fertility figurines may be distant ancestors of the goddess cults that permeated South Asian spirituality. The sacred animals, the bull, the elephant, even the enigmatic unicorn, resonate in Hindu symbolism today. And then there is language. While the Indus script remains silent, some scholars argue that Dravidian languages, still spoken by millions, may carry echoes of their tongue. If true, then the people of the Indus are not lost. They live on in voices spoken every day. The Indus Valley may not have left us towering monuments like Egypt or epic poetry like Mesopotamia, but it left something subtler, a legacy woven into the daily fabric of South Asian life, into ritual, trade, architecture, and spirit. It is a legacy that whispers, reminding us that even in silence, civilizations can endure. The Indus Valley Civilization remains one of humanity's greatest enigmas. It was vast, sophisticated, and ahead of its time, yet silent, faceless, and strangely humble. No kings carved in stone, no conquests etched in glory, only cities of order, artifacts of beauty, and a script that refuses to speak. Perhaps this is why it fascinates us so deeply. The Indus people remind us that greatness does not always shout. Sometimes it whispers, in the careful laying of a brick, in the carving of a seal, in the flow of water through a drain. Their achievements endure, even as their names are forgotten. We stand today at the edge of their ruins, listening for voices that no longer echo, piecing together lives from fragments. And in that silence, we hear something profound, the fragility of human civilizations and the enduring mystery of our past. The Indus Valley's lost cities are more than ruins. They are questions carved into the earth. They challenge us to look deeper, to wonder, to never stop seeking. For as long as their script remains undeciphered, their story remains unwritten. And perhaps that is their greatest gift, a mystery eternal, forever drawing us back to the banks of the Indus.